This hangout on air is live.
Oh,
Hey, so welcome to our top 10 video games. We're waiting for one person, Lauren, who was the one who started this back in 2012 or something. But Robert's going to just read he beat like 50 games this year. So he's going to start, though, at his 34th best game. And he's going to read up to his 20th best game. We're just going to kill some time until Lauren gets here. So anyways, go ahead.
here we go. Borderlands, the pre-sequel, 34. Number 33 is Electronic Superjoy, Groove City. 32 is Gianna Sisters. 31 is 140.
Oh, yeah. Gianna Sisters? Oh, I guess that was better than Borderlands pre-sequel, but did you like that game?
Yeah, I liked it.
I've been wanting to play that one. I haven't. I just haven't played it yet.
Yes, I was so like bored with the pre-sequel by the end. I just
Me too.
I desperately wanted to finish it. And like it's definitely a good game. Like I'm glad I played it, but I just and sometimes platformers, just every platform I ever play, like I usually just always dig it. I always love platforms. Anyway, 140 is at number 31. Number 30 is Ratchet and Clank All for One. That's a multiplayer game that I played with Peter. It's really fun. Borrowed from Josh. Number 29 is BioShock Infinite DLC, Burial at Sea. Number 28 is Super Mario RPG. Number 27 is Little Big Planet 2. Number 26 was Tales from Space About a Blob, also played with Peter. Number 25, Speedrunners. Number 24, Yoshi's New Island for the 3DS. Number 23 is Assassin's Creed Revelations. Last 3 hours really good. The rest was sort of meh. Number 22 is Max Payne 2. Number 21 was Uncharted 1. And number 20 was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Oh, Uncharted 1 was way down there, huh? 21. I think you'd have put that up a bit higher.
Well, Uncharted 2 is way higher, but Uncharted 1...
Oh, that makes sense.
Did not rank as high.
So you read all the way up to 20?
Yeah, so why don't you start with number 19 now?
Well, now I'm not going to do these by ranking. I'm just going to do it by I'm going to find the ones that I didn't list, and I'll read those because I didn't rank them below 12. So let's see here. Wind Up Night 2. That game is awesome. But a couple years ago when we started this, I had Wind Up Night on my top 10, the first one, I think, if I remember correctly.
I remember you loved that game. I played a few levels of Wind Up Night, but I never finished it.
It's so fun. I love runners. I always tell you this. You and I both love Rayman, the Rayman runners. But
yeah.
It's just like that, but it just does it so well, and there's so many new challenges, and there's like 4 different ways to complete each level in Wind Up Night 2. And it makes it really fun. There's tons of replayability. I put hours and hours and hours into that game. It was a stupid phone game, but it's so fun.
By the way, speaking of Rayman, did you know there's a new iPhone Rayman that just came out a month ago?
No.
It's called Rayman Adventures. It's actually free to play. And it's a lot more exploratory. It's not like the other iPhone games where you're constantly running. Like you can change direction at any time. Well, for half the levels are like you have to go one direction. You're trying to collect all the things, and it's impossible unless you have a power up. Anyway, the game you can get a perfect on every level without spending any money because they give you so many bonuses just by playing the game.
Cool.
I've beaten like 3 worlds, so if you like the other 2 iPhone Raymans, you should definitely check it out.
I'm downloading it right now.
Rayman Adventures.
Okay, go with your 19.
My 19 is Super Mario World. I got it on the Virtual Console, and it's the one game that is on my list this year that I've beaten in a previous year. But because I played it again this year and beat it, I put it on because it was a super fun game.
What, Super Mario 3D World?
No. Super Mario World from the Super Nintendo.
Oh, replayed it. Man, that game deserves to be like number 3. That's like one of the best all-time games ever. I love that game.
Yeah, what?
Did you do all the secret exits and like?
Yes, I got every single level possible finished.
They have never done that good of a job on any of their follow-up games with like just how I don't know something magical about that one.
I mean,
3D World.
Super Mario 64.
Or not 3D World, but Super Mario World.
Super Mario 64 is probably my favorite Mario still.
Yeah,
Followed
you're
by
right.
the
That one is
Galaxy
my favorite.
games.
But as far as their platforming ones, like I mean, their side-scrolling platforming ones, that one is by far my favorite of all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, but the other thing is before I finished Super Mario World, I started Super Mario Maker. And Super Mario Maker just like had so many endless possibilities that it just, to me, like Super Mario Maker is everything that you could want in Super Mario World plus like infinite more. So
That's true.
that fact alone probably bumped Super Mario World down a little more.
That's funny you said that because I don't even have Super Mario Maker on my list. I didn't even think about that as one I beat because there's no ending to
I know. Well, same
So
with
I gotta
speedrunners. Same with speedrunners. I put that at 25 because that's one that you can't really beat, but we had a ton of fun with it this year, you know?
That's funny. Huh. Okay, well, I guess we have 20 then. You'll have to list your 20th because that just got put way up on my list. I totally forgot about it. That's so funny.
Well, my 20th was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Have you ever heard of that game?
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Isn't that a board game?
No. Well, originally, Vampire the Masquerade is like a Dungeons and Dragons. Lauren said he'll be ready in 5 minutes.
Okay. Dang. Okay, so I guess that drops my Titan Souls off my list. That's too bad. I really like that game. All right.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, let me tell you quickly about Vampire the Masquerade then. Did I tell you Lauren just texted said it'll be on in 5 minutes? So
Yeah, I heard you.
that'll be fine. But Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines would be my 20th then, and it was originally a D&D tabletop game, and they made it into a series of video games. The first one was called Redemption that I played like a few years ago, and it was really old style, but I managed to beat it somehow. And then Masquerade Bloodlines is newer, but still kind of ugly and glitchy. But it's considered one of the best RPGs ever because you have so much freedom. It's not like you go around killing people and leveling up. You do level up, but half the missions are like stealth or, go and convince this person to do something. So you can do it by killing that person or by, just having enough.
What was it? What did you play that on? Just on the computer? On Steam?
On the PC. It wasn't through Steam. It was through like GameFly or something. Not GameFly. I think I downloaded it through GameStop, through a digital download through GameStop or something. I played it. I bought it like 3 years ago, but I finally finished it this year. But anyway, it was just like really, really impressive in scope, and so yeah, so I played it. And plus, the podcast I listened to, they played it as like a game club. And so I finished it for that reason too. So anyway, so I've done my 20th and 19th now. So I guess your 20th would have been then. What did you say it was? Oh, Wind Up Night 2. So now do your 19th, and then we can keep going.
Oh, okay. So,
or whatever, yeah.
Well, what did I say? I already thought I said my 19th.
Well, you said your 19th was Wind Up Night 2, but then you said.
Oh, so I have to do. I got it. So that was more like my 20th, but these aren't ranked again. So, okay, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
Oh, is that the second one or the third one?
Yeah, that's the second one. I haven't played the third one yet. But the second one, it was still really awesome. And obviously it was like bigger, and they tried to make it bigger and better than number one, but I still like number one way more. Anyways, and that'll obviously come up later. So, yeah, so go ahead. Number 19. Oh, you already did your 19 too.
Yeah.
Okay, so 18 Duet Premium.
Duet?
Yeah.
I remember seeing you play that game.
You have to spiral. Dude, that game was so hard, but I did finally beat it. And there's like these extra extreme hard challenges you can do after, but I just beat the main sequence of puzzles and then I stopped because it drove me crazy most of the time. But yeah, it was still fun.
Hey, can Lauren just join us, or do we need to send him an invite?
He should be able to still join us. I sent him an invite, but I'll send him another one right now while you do your number 18.
My number 18 is one I just recently played through your Steam account, which was the DLC of Arkham Origins, the Cold Heart DLC. So this, I know you didn't think it was that great, right?
I mean, it's Batman, so it's fun. It's still fun. It's still fun. It's really fun gameplay, but I just hated that it separated itself from the main game, and you didn't get to use all your power ups, and it's just like that sort of thing really annoys me with WB. They're stupid games. Well, they're great games, but
the thing about that game is, it had been a while since I played Batman, and every time I play Batman again, I always love it. Even Arkham Origins, everyone really didn't like, but I loved Arkham Origins.
I loved it too. Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm totally with you on that.
It had been so long since I played any of that type of Batman that when I got into Cold Heart, I was just like, it felt so good to be Batman again. And there were a lot of problems with it, and there were parts that annoying, but I loved the story, and I loved the detective mode, and I loved finding that it's the one Batman game I haven't tried to find all the collectibles in, because I wasn't that invested in it at that point anymore. Because you can find like all the anarchy signs around the city and whatnot, and I was like, who cares? Lauren!
Hey, can you hear me?
Robert.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm so late.
No worries, dude. No worries.
He's not a beard.
Yeah, I have a kind of a beard.
You're looking like Santa Claus. Once your hair turns white, you'll be a dead ringer.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely very jolly as far as my weight goes.
Oh. Well, you'll have to gain about 100 more pounds for that, but you've got plenty of time to do that. No worries.
On my way.
So we already went live, Lauren, and we're just going to quickly run through up to our top 10, and then would you rather? What do you want to do, Steven?
Let's skip to our
you guys do whatever.
Top 10. So Lauren, how many games do you have?
How many games?
Rank. I mean, Robert said you had less than 10, maybe.
I haven't even thought this through, so I know for sure probably my top 5 of the year, but I don't know that I've beat more than 5 games this year. So.
Okay, so what we'll do is Robert and I are going to just run down our top 10, our 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, and 6th, and then just real quick, and then we'll start with you. That'll give you some time to compile your list, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys go ahead and talk, and I'll write it down real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not more prepared.
If we have time at the end, maybe I'll tell you. I'll go in more detail about my number 11 through number 18, Steve.
Yeah. We can do that.
But number 10. I'll go first.
Okay.
My number 10 of the year was Bastion, which was an awesome game. No. You're offended that it's not higher?
Yeah, a little.
But here's the thing. I played so many good games this year.
Yeah.
Like, starting the beginning of the year, like, I just had so many games I wanted to cram into my top 10, but I simply just couldn't. And so Bastion was one of those games where I wasn't a huge fan of the gameplay. That's the reason it's not higher. Because that style of gameplay is not my favorite. It's the top-down action type of game. But the music was so good. The story was so awesome. The narrator was the best. And the gameplay actually was fun. Even though it's not like my ideal type of gameplay. So, and the end, after I beat that game, I just wanted to listen to that song over and over again.
Yeah.
The song
you bought it on Steam, right?
Yeah, I played it on Steam.
So I bought it through. Well, did you get it though through the indie bundle a long time ago?
I think so. Yeah.
So Robert, since you did that, do you ever use the Humble Bundle app? Do they have the Humble Bundle app on iOS or not?
Probably.
Oh, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Well, anyways, the Humble. No, they do. Maybe they do. You should check because it will download to your Humble Bundle app any extra stuff you got with your game. So like all of the soundtracks,
really,
all the comics and stuff. So you can like. I have comics for all these games. I'll never read those, but I have the entire album of Bastion on there, and I can listen to it anytime I want.
Dude, I should check that out.
I have dozens of soundtracks, anything that they've ever sold you, it seems like they'll eventually attach it and give it to you, like the soundtrack and stuff. You have to pay extra for it usually, but yeah, it's really cool. I wonder if they have it on iOS. They have it on Android in the Play Store. You used to have to download it from their website, but now you can get it straight from the App Store, I think.
There's a Humble Bundle for $7 that's not actually the Humble Bundle. They're trying to cheat you.
Oh, yeah.
Some other thing. I don't think they have it.
That's a bummer. Okay, sorry. You can continue.
That's all.
We can switch back and forth. Okay, I thought you were just going to do your 5 in a row. Okay. My number 10 was Batman Arkham Origins. Lauren, you missed it, but we were just discussing this game a lot, and we both agree that the game is awesome. I know you. I hate that I have to do a caveat with it, like, well, I liked it because it didn't suck like it did for everybody else. Because I played after they worked out all the bugs and stuff, and so I really didn't encounter any like bugs. For me, it was right on par with all the other ones as far as gameplay and mechanics and stuff. The story was not as interesting, but for me, but I still really like Batman Arkham Origins a lot. But there's one thing that knocks it farther down my list, and if I hadn't played the Cold Heart DLC, I would have liked it even more. And Robert's heard me gripe about this, but the thing about their DLC is, when I played the Cold Heart DLC, it didn't let me use all of my power-ups that I had gained from the main game. And it's like this, and you can't play in the whole same world. It's like you got this new little section of the map you can play, and you can't go anywhere else. And it just felt so, I don't know if it ruined the immersiveness of it for me.
Is it like a prequel to Origins or something?
No, it's not.
No, it comes right after Origins.
And they do that with their DLC all the time. WB does that with their DLC all the time. They do that. They even did it with Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, it's because they're treating it like a completely separate game or separate levels.
And maybe some people like that who like pick it up later and they don't want to start their character over. But I hated it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You still have your shot gloves in the Cold Heart. Isn't that all you need?
The point. You do have some stuff, but
I think you have most of your power-ups, don't you?
You're limited, and plus you can't like go explore the rest of the map if you wanted to, or like work on other stuff while you do I don't know. It just
you can explore most of the map. I think there's half the map that's cut off.
I think maybe but not all the same stuff that was going on in your world is going on anymore.
Yeah.
Like
no, that's true. That's
what I mean. It ruins the immersiveness for it. That honestly, like Dark Souls DLC has ruined DLC for me in lots of other games because
it's so well integrated. It's just part of the game. Yeah.
It is perfect, and like it doesn't ruin that immersive feeling and like at all. Anyway,
you just reminded me of something I can add to my list, which is the Arkham City DLC. Because I did beat that this year.
Oh, nice. Lauren, don't forget speedrunners.
Oh yeah. It's funny.
I'm always concerned about Lauren having enough games.
I found a spreadsheet, and it has games beat in 2015, last updated in March, and I have 5 games on the list. So I was really into this in the first quarter of the year, apparently.
So, Lauren, you have 10 games.
And then I played a certain game for 8 months straight. We'll get to that.
There's something appealing about that you can like choose a game and you can just play that game and just forever. I have to like move on to other games. I feel like, but
yeah, that's a Gibbons thing. Gibbons, you guys love to play different things, and even when you play a certain game, you like to change it up and everything. I'll play Dark Souls 3 times in a row with the same weapon. That's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Good stuff.
Anyway, we'll get there. I have 10 games on my list now, but
yes!
3 of them are sort of like cheating. But
that's okay. That means it's your turn, Lauren.
Well, no, let him rank them first, Robert. Let him work on his ranking. You and I will do our 5, and then he'll do 5 in a row.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well,
so,
okay.
I just did my 10th. Robert, you do your
9th.
Your 9th.
Okay, my 9th was Fez. Have you played that, Steven?
I know what it is, but I haven't played it.
Fez is an amazing game.
Really? Despite all the pretentiousness of its creator?
Yeah, I mean, if you just forget what you know about Phil Fish and just play the game, it's an amazing game. It looks just like a 2D sprite-based game, but the world rotates, and so everything's cube shaped. So like you can see a vine like across the map because it's all 2D, but then you rotate the world and the vine like shifts, and so it's right next to you, and then you can climb up the vine. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just a puzzle-based platformer, but there's a really interesting story, and there's so many secrets to it. And after you beat the game once, like more secrets open to you, and you can end up getting like 209% completion rate on this game. It's really weird.
So didn't they kind of do that in Super Mario 3D World? Didn't they kind of have a thing like that where it's like a rotating world that, based on how you rotate it, you can get around?
Oh,
Toad Tracker levels.
Well, yeah, but that's still 3D. That's a 3D space where you can just rotate the world to see different things. But this is a 2D space, and then you rotate it, and the world rotates behind you. But you still can only move in one direction. I mean, in two directions, left and right, up and down. I guess 2D space. So you can't actually move in a 3D space. Except once you beat the game, they unlock like a completely new dimension. It's crazy.
Weird.
For a game that's made by one person, the secrets go on, and like the game scope like expands beyond what you can think is possible for just like one guy. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 guys, I think, in the end. But basically, this one guy made it, Phil Fish, and he did make a truly like inspiring and amazing game. And so it is unfortunate what happened to him and how he blew up after that. But as far as just a great achievement, Fez is really awesome, and you should all play it someday.
Okay, number 9, Lords of the Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
This is a testament to how good my list is, because Robert and I were discussing it was really hard to choose a top 10, even though Robert played at least 3 times as many games as I did, so it was even harder for him. But Lords of the Fallen was really actually awesome. Like I highly recommend it. Robert, I highly recommend it as a Souls-like game. It's really cool. Like they did a really good job. The boss fights are really fun. It's challenging, and they just did a really good job. And I played it so long ago. I played it at the beginning of the year when I beat it, and so I don't remember all the details, but I just remember really being impressed, really liking. I didn't hunt down every single secret like I would have if it was a like I've done with most games, like completionist style. But Lords of the Fallen is really good.
Cool. Hey, is somebody writing this down?
Oh, I just started to.
In previous years, I've always written it down, but since I'm sort of late to the party, I thought maybe someone else should do it this time.
Yeah, I've gotten just the top 10 for us. I've got Steven's Arkham Origins for number 10 and Lords of the Fallen for number 9, and of course I have mine already. So when you give me yours, Lauren, I'll write yours down too.
What I'm realizing is I think in my head I played some of these games last year, and I didn't. A lot of this stuff, it was this year. That's why it's good to keep track. Yeah. I look back at last year's list, and I thought that some of the stuff that I played this year was on last year's list, and it isn't. So.
Is Zombie U one of those?
Yeah.
Ah, told you. I told you you'd beat it this year.
I thought that was last year.
Lauren, I keep a little list on one of my note-taking apps on my phone, and so whenever I beat a game, I log in and not log in, but just open it up and just add a new game. I did it this year for the first time, and it helped me keep track of all of them. I still left one off. Robert reminded me of, and it was like one of my top games this year, but you'll understand why when we get there. But one thing I should say about Lords of the Fallen, it is only $10 right now on Steam during their sale.
Yeah, but I'm just going to play it through your account, so...
there you go. Okay. So, Robert,
by the way, Lauren told me he's playing Arkham Knight on my account, and he says it's awesome. Okay, my number 8 is Prince of Persia 2008, the cel-shaded one. Have you ever played this game, Steven? The 2008 Prince of Persia?
The very first one?
No, the 2008 Prince of Persia. It's a
cel-shaded... the one that came out on the 360.
Yeah.
I did play it. I played about like 70% of it, and I never finished it. I've always planned on going back and playing it. I own it on Steam or on wherever I got it from.
It's the one where you're collecting orbs, like these light seeds that are scattered around all the levels.
Yeah.
When I first started this game, I was like, I don't know if I can get into this because I couldn't really get into the combat, and then I thought collecting the light seeds would be fun, but it seems so overwhelming because in the first level you can only collect like about 70% of them, and then you don't have the abilities to unlock to get the rest. And I'm like a huge collectathon person, so I love collecting everything. So I'm like, yeah, maybe this one is one I'll just beat and not collecting. And I actually almost put the game down at one point and just like, I'm not going to finish this. Because I went for a while without playing it, and then I tried to play it again, and I forgot how to swing my sword and forgot all the moves. But I stuck to it, and like within like a couple of hours after I was like trying to get back into it, it suddenly became like the only game I wanted to play for weeks. And like every time I sat down to play a game, I'm like, I have to play more Prince of Persia. And I got really good at the combat, and so I loved the combat. And then I actually really enjoyed like hunting down the light seeds and figuring out which moves I needed to use to get to them all. And so I ended up getting 100% of the light seeds and beating the game, and I loved the story, and it was really beautiful, just a beautiful game, especially if you can max out your settings on your PC. And so I loved playing that game and finishing all the collectibles in it.
Cool. I've always planned on going back and doing the Prince of Persia games again, but I've made that plan with hundreds of games. So anyway. Okay, my number, what are we on now, 7? Was that your
8.
7 or your 8?
No, that was my 8.
8, 7. Wait, I skipped one or something.
You did Arkham Origins, then Lords of the Fallen. That was your 10 and 9.
Oh, I did this backwards. Wait, did I? Hold on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, wait, that's right. 6, 7, 8. Oh, yeah, we're on 8. So my number 8 is Ratchet and Clank, the first one. And I struggled putting it there because just like Lords of the Fallen, I wanted to put it higher. But Ratchet and Clank is so cool. That game is just like a blast from the moment you turn it on till the moment you finish it. And when I was telling Robert why number 2 didn't make it that very high was because I don't know if it was the lack of originality, but in number 2 also there was just a lot of like, I don't know, I feel like they tried to make it bigger, but a lot of it was repetitive. But Ratchet and Clank 1, so fun. That game, every time you get a new weapon, it's just like Christmas. But that game was really cool.
I just started Tools of Destruction, which is the beginning of a new trilogy for the PS3. I just started Tools of Destruction. Fun game.
Cool.
All right. My number 7 was Super Mario Maker, which is an incredible game. And Lauren, you should be sad that you don't have it.
I'm so jealous.
The best part about Super Mario Maker, Lauren, is playing online. Well, sorry, finding a level to challenge Steven in. Like every couple of weeks. Well, it used to be like every few days, but we haven't played in a few weeks. But Steven and I, when it's just the two of us on a game night or something, we'd like go online, find a level, give the other person the code, and then we'd race to see who could beat the level first. And neither of us would have any clue what the level was going to be like before we started it. And that game is so fun because there's so much discovery in it. And if you like platformers at all, which we both do, and if you love Mario at all, which we both do, then it's the perfect type of competitive game to play. And Nintendo just put their whole heart into that game.
So it doesn't actually have like a multiplayer option though, right? You guys just kind of play it on the phone together.
We play at the same time while we're talking to each other over the computer.
Yeah.
And I hear, and we talk about, oh, did you get past this part yet? And so we know where the other person is at, and we get to laugh when we.
It would be cool if there was a multiplayer element to it where you could see like a ghost of your friend.
That is a really good idea.
That would be really cool.
Email Nintendo.
I actually predict that they're going to make a Super Mario Maker 2 for the NX or something, and they're going to make it online competitive, so you can challenge friends online.
I think that's the biggest weakness that Nintendo has. I think Smash Brothers has a pretty good online community, right? But
right, yeah.
or multiplayer option.
Splatoon as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So like in
Splatoon.
general, Nintendo's sort of been behind when it comes to multiplayer games, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got. I mean, when they have, yeah, I don't know. They're just in online interaction with like the community outside of the game itself is so tedious. It really, you're right. It's the worst.
yeah, and
It's
all the
the
comments
worst.
and stuff. So when you say they may have a Super Mario Maker 2, like what's left to do besides some sort of multiplayer version? Because can't you pretty much do anything that exists in any Mario
Well,
game?
No.
what I thought they might do in a part 2 is like give you the option to hide stars in the level. There's a ton of things that they could add.
There's a ton of things that they don't have too. There are so many things in the new Super Mario Brothers types of levels that are like a tilting platform or like hills instead of that you can slide down instead of just everything's in blocks.
I
For all
see.
intents and purposes, it's very primitive. Like
Interesting.
even though you can play in 4 different eras of Mario, it still is very blocky.
It's pretty much the side-scroller blocky version of
And you're
Mario.
constrained to that. So they have a lot they could add to it, and I don't know what the reasoning is behind not doing that because you can curve things in that game. Like you can curve like a track that your little, the little skull platforms follow. So they could make the hills. It would be easy for them to do, but I wonder if they're saying that for DLC or if they just maybe that's. I don't know.
Well, is it because they're trying to kind of like the first game is the lowest common denominator, and they're trying to make everything compatible with any skin? And since there are limitations on the first game's engine, like in the very first Mario game, you can't slide down hills or do a lot of that stuff, right? That came later.
Right.
So isn't it set up so that you can play any level that's created in any style?
There's some, not necessarily, because there are some things like if you choose the Super Mario 3 skin or the Super Mario World skin, there's certain things you can put into those levels that you create that you can't put into a Super Mario 1 skin. So there are differences between the skins.
I thought there was a way, like once the level's created, you can change the skin however you want.
It's
not
true.
once. No.
Yeah. You can change it after you've created it to any skin. So Robert, everything that can go in any of them can go into all of them, but it changes like it might change the creature to like from like a clam to like something else, but that's very similar.
Oh, so it replaces the object, because what I was thinking is like you can pick up shells and put them on your head if you have a Super Mario 3 or 4 skin. But not a Super Mario 1 skin.
You're talking about actual platforming. So, like, Mario cannot pick up shells in number 1 and number 2 just like he couldn't in...
So those limitations exist if you reskin it? Is that what happens?
Yeah, you're limited. It platforms the same way it did in those games, is what Robert's trying to say.
That's why I feel like the blocky thing is necessary, because the first game is only blocky. There's no other way.
Right, but they could have a whole new window of things pop up whenever you switch to that skin. It wouldn't be hard for them, or not allow you to switch back, or say if you switch back, it'll do a little warning like you're going to lose part of your level if you do this, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Or certain smooth edges are going to turn into blocks or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like it could be stairs instead of a smooth slope.
I will say, Lauren, that's a surprisingly astute insight for someone who doesn't have the game, though.
I've heard about it enough.
Oh, Robert, Trey got it for Christmas, and I'm going to send him one of my levels so that he can find me, and we can start sharing levels with Trey. So, anyways, is it my turn?
Yeah, number 7.
Super Mario 3D World, and I hate that freaking game so bad.
It's a love-hate thing.
No, I'm going to tell you. I loved everything they did in that game. Like it was so fun. It was the multiplayer, and it was incredible and everything. But the stupid last 3 levels, I could not beat that last level. It's
funny you say that
hard.
Because
I played it. I'm not even joking you, hundreds of times. Robert beat it, and for me, there's something wrong with my brain. I could not get those stupid little switching platforms to work in my mind. I could not beat it.
It's funny because we went and stayed at Robert's house once, and Robert, we went there and watched Peter playing, the hardest levels. Like, he just skipped straight to the hardest levels, and that's what he would play over and over and over, and so now my kids try to do that, and they don't enjoy it because they're not willing to start at the beginning and learn how to play. They just go straight to the end.
That's
anyway.
It's funny. No, Robert... it really frustrated me because, as you know, me and Robert are both completionists, and the fact that I
Yeah.
could not beat that last level, it still drives me bonkers. But I gave it back to Robert. Good riddance.
So you still haven't finished it?
I never beat that level, and I
Oh,
never
man.
will. I can't even look at that game without puking.
That's hilarious.
You know what's funny, Steven, is so we got that game back from you and we played it like for a few more times because Peter wanted to get all of the stamps. And you have to beat every level with all 5 characters. All 5 characters
I
have to
did
touch
that.
the flagpole.
I did that.
We did that for the
last
hard.
level.
We did that for the hard level. We did that for the hard level, but not for the other levels. So we started doing it for the other levels. The only level I didn't think we'd ever do it on is the one we have to collect 20 green stars, because that one's just ridiculous.
That is a hard level.
But
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
the point is, it got dirty one day, and Peter cleaned it by rubbing it too hard, I think, and now it won't work anymore.
Oh,
So say goodbye to that game, even if you wanted to complete it.
You know, you can take
I know.
discs like that to a place, and they'll like scratch off the bottom layer of plastic and basically cleans it off.
Yeah, we might do that, but we'll see. All right. Well, it sounds like that's all you want to say about that game, Steven, because you're still
Yep.
angry about it. My number 6 is To the Moon, which is the
Awesome.
most well-written game I've ever played. Have you played it, Steven?
No, but I've heard such good things. I really want to play that game. I've been wanting to play it for a long time, but always.
I was surprised when I stuck it in how simple it looked. It's made with like RPG Maker. It's not an RPG. It's a very linear story-based game, and the amounts of things you can actually do is very limited. The gameplay is very simple. When there are puzzles, they're like not really that hard. But when I played that game, I was so impressed. I think I cried at one point, and
Wow.
it moved me more than any game ever has, for sure. Like I was
Awesome.
truly touched by that game. That was an awesome game. So just for the story, you should play it.
Yeah, cool. That's what I look forward to. That's why The Walking Dead 1 was my top game that year because the story was so awesome, and there you cannot make an argument for the actual gameplay because it's the worst. It's
Yeah.
just not.
Don't ruin the ending though. I started
just
Walking
enough-
Dead in
yeah.
season 1 like 3 years ago, and I still haven't finished.
No, it's still it's there to make it interactive and make it feel like you're in the story. And I think that's important. But they really focus on their stories in Telltale Games. But that story, top notch, so awesome. I love games for stories too. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that Robert talks about being moved because that's my number 6 as well. It's not the same game, but this game is so high because of the way it made me feel. Just like when you mentioned Bastion, it's just one of those games you finish it and you're like, wow, you just feel like you just played something iconic or something so unique and fresh. But this one is this War of Mine.
Hmm.
So if you look at how many hours I played the game, it's like hardly any. And I played through once and I totally, utterly failed. I don't even know how you beat that game. I don't think you do. You just play it to experience a story. So do you know anything about this game, you guys?
A very little bit. I know that. Yeah, and I heard it. Yeah, go ahead.
So you're in a war-torn zone, like I don't know what war it's based out of, but you're not like a soldier like you play in most games. You're not like anybody of importance. You're just a dude trying to survive. And actually, it's a group of people. So there'd be like 4 of you, and you're in this house and you're trying to survive. And your food is in short supply. Your fuel is in short supply, so for for heating the house. Even bedding is in short supply. Everything, and people are constantly raiding your house, or like some people come to your house and try to trade, but you never know if they're really honest or not. You never know if they're going to try to kill you. And at the same time, you have to send guys out on to scavenge the city for supplies or for food or for medicine. And I think the reason I haven't played it is I played it halfway through a second story, but the reason I don't think I continued was because I know how the game is played now, and I was doing so much better the second time. But that first time I played, I didn't know how to do it, and nobody would. If like we've seen in Red Dawn, like some of the country started bombing us, we wouldn't know how to do that, you know. And I think that's why the first story I played through was so incredible to me. And I remember this one part where I was scavenging at night, and I came to this house where this old couple was living, and they had no means to defend themselves. And so, like, I was raiding their fridge, I was taking all their food, and the old man, like, tried to stop me. And so I punched him. I punched him, like, 3 times, and I killed him.
Oh.
I seriously, I had to stop the game, and I was just like, I didn't know I was going to kill him by punching him. I thought I was going to knock him out. And it affected me so much. I was, like, because it was me, you know, it was like my character I was playing, and just things like that happen in that game that just like, oh, it's so worth playing. And maybe I've spoiled something by telling you all that much detail, but every story is different. Where you go and decide to like scavenge and the people you encounter, it's totally random. No 2 stories will ever play out the same in that game.
Is that on Steam?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I highly, highly, highly recommend that game.
Cool. All right, Lauren, give us your 10 through 6.
All right. So I've been going through my list here. Some of this is sort of cheating, but I actually have 3 number 10s.
What?
I'll explain. So I beat Super Metroid again, as is my yearly tradition, and that's probably my top game of all time, besides maybe Dark Souls. So I'm putting it at number 10 because I beat it every year. I also put Speedrunners at number 10. I enjoy it, but it's at number 10. And then Shadow of Mordor would be way higher if I had finished the game, but I barely played it enough to even have it on the list. I played it enough to know I like it.
It could be on next year's list.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't. We got Dark Souls 3 coming out this next year, so that may be the only thing I play.
He's got Bloodborne. He's got Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, Lauren, you are in for a world of hurt.
I'm not going to finish anything. But I have to say this about Shadow of Mordor really quick. As I did enjoy it, but I also became tedious very quickly, the small amount I played it. And even though it tried to tell me what to do, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I felt very confused as to what the purpose of the game was. And to be fair, I didn't give it enough time. I just kept running into groups of orcs and having to fight them and usually dying because they were overpowered or whatever. And I just kind of like got sick of that quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I should have been more stealthy or paid more attention to the actual storyline or something, but
I'll talk a little more. It's a little higher on my list, and maybe we'll see work out some of your doubts.
I would like that because I almost feel like I just need to start it over fresh and just like play the story. The thing is, I like the Arkham games quite a bit, and for them, I love the fact that I can quit the story at any time and just kind of roam around and do other stuff and quests. But I tried to play Shadow of Mordor that way early on, and I felt like I just couldn't handle it. Anyway, number 9 is Dota 2. And I did play a good amount of this. I think we started playing this together this year, right? Didn't we?
Yeah, early this year.
I think my first time playing it was this year.
Yeah, same with Smite.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I got to where I was enjoying it, and then you guys introduced Smite to me, and I was like, Dota 2's the worst. So anyway, it's on my list because it's something I have definitely played. And you know what? It is enjoyable. My wife is completely obsessed with it. She plays it a lot. She's really good. She's put several hundred hours into it this year. She's got a bunch of friends. She's got a bunch of friends online. She's like really good now, and so that's
so cool. That's awesome.
Okay, my number 8 is Arkham City DLC. It's the Harley's Revenge thing. I don't know if you guys have played that.
I haven't played that one.
I have. What? I haven't played it.
I don't know what happened, but I played Arkham City several times through. It's one of my favorite games. It's so great.
Well, I borrowed that game from somebody as why, and after I beat it, I gave it back to him, and I never played it again. I actually think I own it now on Steam, though. I should sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
On Steam, you don't have to beat it to play the DLC, Steven. Just like
that's the thing. Like I own it. I've played it several times, but then I don't even remember how. But I suddenly got a Game of the Year edition. And I think I got it for free somehow. And it had the DLC on it. I was like, oh, I'll play the DLC. So I enjoyed it. It's pretty low on the list because, to be honest, the DLC wasn't that memorable. I think Batman works best when the Joker's part of it, and since the whole plot of the DLC is that Joker's not in it, it was kind of dull, but it was fine. My number 7, and this is going to be shocking. I'm always a year behind you guys. Dark Souls 2 is my number 7. And when I say Dark Souls 2, I mean not Scholar of the First Sin. Because I played Dark Souls 2 for my first time this year, and I just, something about it, I just didn't quite enjoy it. It didn't meet the expectations that I had from Dark Souls. Yeah. And I got through it, but it was like a chore, and I didn't enjoy it very much. Number 6 is already, I've played a half hour of this game, and that's Bloodborne.
Wait a minute, that's cheating for sure.
Yeah, this is totally cheating.
You can't put it on your list.
The thing is, I knew starting Bloodborne, I'd already like it better than I like Dark Souls 2 and these other things that I've set on my list, just because it has that great Miyazaki feel. I think that's his name, the guy who is Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls. It just feels so full of life, and it's amazing. It also creeps me out more than Dark Souls. Something about it is just really creepy. So I'm excited for that adventure that really has barely started. I think I got out of the tutorial level, and that's about it, but it's going to be fun. So that's my 10 through 6.
Cool. Sweet. Okay, Robert, number 5.
Right.
Let the real podcast begin.
Number 5 for me was Mass Effect 2. I think I'm the only one of us who's played any of the Mass Effects, but the first one was really good. It's actually quite a simple game for an RPG because, you know, I think of these huge RPGs, especially the makers of Mass Effect is BioWare, I think. Isn't it BioWare? Mm-hmm. Who make like Dragon Age, and they're known for really big games, epic in scope. But Mass Effect games are actually they're pretty linear, and you can upgrade and level up, but they sort of hold you by the hand. And so Mass Effect is great because they tailor the story and the gameplay so well without making it overly complicated. And that's why I enjoyed it so much. Mass Effect 1 was good. Mass Effect 2 was amazing. And there is some freedom of choice in that you can basically go anywhere in the galaxy, but when you get to those specific spots, then it's a linear story within those specific spots. But the story of Mass Effect 2 is they want you to recruit a team to go on basically a suicide mission. And you decide how much of the team you want to recruit, whether you want to get like just a couple of guys or whether you want to get all 10 of the people that you can get. And then there's all sorts of side missions you can do on along the way, like go to different planets and seek out distress beacons and help people with different things. And at heart, it's a third-person shooter, cover shooter, where, you know, most of the time you're hiding behind things and shooting when you're in combat. But there's also, you know, some interesting dialogue and story things that happen along the way. Anyway, long story short, the ending of that game is so epic and makes you really attached to all the characters and the story that's been going along. And I feel like it's a must play for every gamer because it's just so grand and so awesome from beginning to end.
Cool.
The end.
Alrighty. Number 5 for me is Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. Now, this is the first time a Souls game has not been at the top of my list.
Yeah.
And there's 2 reasons for that. One, because I already had played Dark Souls 1 like a number of times. Or not Dark Souls 2. I'd already played through the original game a number of times. I played it with...
Which was your number
Josh,
1 last year?
I played it with myself. And then... But also is because I played it right after I played Bloodborne.
Oh.
And when I talk about Bloodborne, you'll understand why. But one of the main reasons was because Bloodborne is extremely, extremely challenging. Like, Miyazaki ramped up the difficulty a lot. Yeah. And you guys are starting to play it, so you know. But it especially when you start doing boss fights, you'll see what I'm talking about. Things move 10 times faster than in the Souls. So when I went back to Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, it was slow. Like, I had no trouble predicting the boss moves and dodging them and and I beat every boss my first try on my first playthrough except for the Smelter Demon. So it was even though people talk about those games being challenging, the bosses being challenging, for me it was really easy compared to Bloodborne. Plus I'd already played it, so I knew what to anticipate, so that also lent to how easy it was. But yeah, but it's still awesome, and I still went there.
Well, and the bosses probably are the thing that changed the least, right? In Scholar of the First Sin, I would say. Pretty much exactly the same as Dark Souls 2, right?
Yeah, luckily they did new enemy placements and stuff, so I was surprised a few times, and it made it more interesting. But yeah,
cool. Oh, so is it my turn? My number 5, and I've kind of struggled with my top 5 here because they are all pretty great. But my number 5 is ZombiU, which this was actually on my list 2 years ago, but it was one of those cheats where I hadn't really finished it yet. So this year, like I say, at the beginning of the year, I was really anxious to finish some games because of the podcast we did last year, and so I was like, I'm going to finish ZombiU, and then I realized I was only like 20 minutes away from beating it. So I beat it, and then I was like, man, that was fun. I should play it again. So then I played it again over the next 2 weeks and beat it again pretty quickly. And that game just captures that sort of like scary, solitary feeling that I feel like few games are able to capture that, even though lots of games have zombies. What's great about that game is you really just feel alone and like you're struggling to survive the entire time. And I got to be honest, it makes use of the Wii Pad in just the right way that makes it really enjoyable, because it treats the Wii Pad like it's actually one of your tools in the game, and so you have to be constantly looking down at it and like tapping it to like ping your area to see if there are zombies in your location, and so you're taking your eyes away from what's around you to look down at the pad, and your character does that too, and so there are these moments when you don't realize there's a zombie right behind you until you ping the little thing on the Wii Pad, and then it's suddenly like there's a zombie, and it's just it's great. It's perfect.
That's awesome.
Also, the setting, it's a pretty small game, but it's very well designed, and the setting is a lot of fun. And then at the very end, when it just starts to get really challenging, and they throw a bunch of different types of zombies at you, like invisible zombies and lightning zombies and stuff, the game ends pretty quickly after that. I think there's a lot of room for more stuff, and it's sad that they'll probably never make another one. I don't think it did very well, but it was a really exciting game. I'd recommend it.
Well, see, they just released it on Steam.
Yeah,
so
yeah, you can play it on Steam now, but obviously that's
Really?
going to lose some of the effect. Yeah, just as Zombie. They released it as Zombie. But
I wonder if it's going to feel as... I don't know, having that Wii Pad added a lot to it.
I wonder if they'll have a window at the bottom that you have to click with your mouse or something to ping that, or maybe... I don't know.
I think I heard what happens is you it's like pausing the game, except the game can't pause, just like in Dark Souls. So a window comes up in front of you, but you can still see out of the peripherals that there might be zombies.
That's kind of the fun part of the game is you have to pick and choose when you're looking around for items and when you're doing different things.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of the fear and sort of excitement of the game would be lost. I mean, there are even moments where you can scan the room you're in, and if you turn around, you can look around the room you're in with the Wii Pad, and it will show you stuff in the walls and everything. It's really cool.
I want to borrow that game from you still sometime, Lauren.
Yeah, you should. I probably won't play it again, so you can definitely borrow it.
Cool. All right. My number 4 is Guacamelee. So... I'd heard a lot of things about this game, good things, and they were all correct, because this game is pure fun. They've designed it not to be like the most entertaining story or anything, but just because whoever made this game knew what I liked in a game, and they made it perfectly for me. It's got like the perfect mix of platforming, funny, quirky characters, humor, color. So like the graphics are fun to look at. Really challenging platforming levels and puzzles to get through. And then the fighting, I usually don't like games where there's combo moves involved. Steven and I talked about this briefly once, but there's a game like called Dust and Elysian Tale, which like you have to learn a bunch of combos.
Yeah,
and I
played
tried
that
the
game
game.
and I hated it.
Yeah, same with me. I tried it and I hated it. But Guacamelee, so it's not, and I shouldn't call it combos because what happens? It's just like you can hit B twice to do a roll attack.
Okay,
instead
that's
of a regular.
different. Yeah.
It's not like B X Y Y X Y B or
Right.
something. It's just like really simple
It's like
combos
the
to
Arkham
help you
games.
improve your fighting.
The Arkham
And so-
games are that way too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like the Arkham games where you earn like little additions to help your guy fight better. And the enemies are really fun, and it becomes quite challenging in some places, but also doable so that when you pass the section you feel really good. And that whole game was just a blast to play from beginning to end. And you can play it co-op if you want with a buddy.
That's
Good
cool.
game.
Alrighty, number 4, Super Mario Maker. This wasn't even on my list until about half an hour ago. I forgot that. I didn't really think of that as a game I completed because you don't ever complete that game. But it's so, Lauren, I can't wait for you to play that game. I hope you get it one day because you would not believe how creative people are. It is.
I love that about Mario games.
I don't know. It's just like I keep finding new levels, and I always love reading posts on like Kotaku or other gaming sites, or watching YouTube videos and people discover these unique levels, and you think, wow, can't believe somebody could even think of that. But it's just there's no end to the creativity even within the limited amount of tools you have. But yeah, it's awesome.
So,
and like Robert said, that's what made that game even more enjoyable. Is we do this thing, we call it brother versus brother, and one day we'll turn it into a really famous show. But
you really should do like a YouTube channel. That would be awesome.
We thought about it, but we can't capture the video yet.
We
from
need
the
both
Wii U.
video capture cards, and they're $200 a pop. So
Oh, really?
you're gonna have to wait. Well, if you want to capture from your console, from your Wii U console, yeah, we would need something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Does the Wii U has HDMI out though, right?
Yeah, but that's not
The
sufficient.
computers don't have HDMI in usually. Interesting.
Yeah, but I looked up a one that's designed for capturing like any of your console games through your computer, and it's like about $200, I think.
You could always do what other people do and just record your TV.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
One of the
It wants to be quality here, Lauren.
the highest subscribed Dark Souls 2 YouTube channel guy started that way.
Really?
Yes.
When I find videos like that, I turn them off immediately. I can't stand
Well, I
it.
don't think he had a lot of subscribers back then, but
That's funny though. At least he just got started. That's admirable.
yeah. That's cool. So, is it my turn? Wait, is it my
Yes.
turn? Are we on number 4?
Number 4.
Yeah.
So this one, it's Arkham Knight, which I literally just started this game like 2 or 3 days ago, and I've already almost beat the main storyline. Although,
Really?
well, I don't actually know if that's true. It feels like it, but who knows? Maybe I haven't. But I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But it has everything that I felt like Arkham Origins was missing. Arkham Origins was on my list, I think, last year.
It was, yeah, like at number 7 or something.
Oh no, it was the year before. It was on 2013. Yeah, it was number 7, and I just really, it was a real letdown for me after Arkham City. Arkham City just felt
Arkham City is awesome
amazing.
and big.
And I started Arkham Origins over again this year because Robert had said it's better than you remember, and I just feel like I couldn't get into it for some reason. It just didn't have the same magic. So I was really hopeful that Arkham Knight would. Now the only maybe semi-negative thing I have to say about it is people were worried that the Batmobile would be a little gimmicky, and I have to say it is pretty gimmicky. Like it's cool, and it feels awesome to have the Batmobile, but you almost lose that fun of Arkham City of like flying through everything and getting to know every little corner of every little building, because you just fly through the city so fast. It all blurs by. Now that being said, I haven't finished the game. I'm sure once I actually start going to find all the Riddler trophies and all that, I'm sure I'll have to dig deep and get to know the map better. But so far, I'm really loving the story. It's had some actually pretty dark twists. I can see why it's rated M. But yeah, just a lot of fun, and it's so seamless from Batmobile to flying through the air to grappling to beating up thugs to back to the Batmobile. It's just so seamless. It
I love
feels
that about the Arkham
amazing.
games too.
Yeah, it just feels better than anything. And they have all the. I remember after Arkham City, I felt like there's just nothing more they can do. I feel like I'm Batman. The way you can like grapple boost, you grapple boost through the air, and then you're landing on guys and beating up thugs, and it just felt so seamless. They take it to a whole new level with this one, and it's way better. It also
Are you playing it on Steam?
Yeah, I'm playing it. I'm playing Robert's version.
Oh, cool. I heard that it was there was still lots of bugs to work out, so I've been waiting to like dive in. I was really hesitant to buy it.
I haven't encountered any bugs except one, which was very minor, and that is at the very beginning of the game. It tells you like double tap A to grapple boost, and that has not gone away from the screen pretty much the entire time I've been playing.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna annoy me so much. That like can ruin it for me.
Like,
so I'm gonna
even
wait.
when I get back in the game later, and other stuff pops up and tells me to push certain buttons, that one will jump back on the screen and stay there. I don't know why. But
That's
other than
funny.
that, it's been really good. So
Maybe they play tested it and people forgot that the most, and so they're like, well, we better just keep reminding
well, I
people.
think what happened is I ignored it because I already knew how to do it, and so it's like I'll show you or something. It's just not going away. Anyway, just a lot of fun, and I actually kind of hope it's the end of the Arkham series because I don't know where they can go from here, honestly.
Dude, how many comics have they made? I mean, how many? They can't end Batman.
I agree. No, that's true.
Batman's the best.
I agree, but maybe just do like a new version of the game that's not related to the same storyline or something. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bring back the Joker, for example. That would be really nice.
You're
I would
getting
like
excited
them
for
to
playing that one day.
I would like them to do the Arkham Asylum story that was in the comics. Not the Arkham Asylum video game, but the Arkham Asylum that Steven had, where Batman gets put in prison.
Oh, interesting.
And it basically, I think the actually Arkham Asylum was partially based on that game. Do you remember those comic books, Steven?
I
think it was called
have
Arkham of the Bat. Arkham of the Bat.
No, it was called Arkham. Batman Arkham. I have them still, the first 4.
Yeah, we had Lauren borrow those, and he read them too. Anyway,
there's one other thing that's a minor nitpick is I know I've talked about this a lot, but in more recent games they've done a better job of like item selection. Like BioShock Infinite, it's really easy to like quick select anything you need and keep playing. And they did that with Arkham Knight, and it's really cool, but the problem is my muscle memory is so set on Arkham City that even though I've now put like 25 hours into Arkham Knight, I still press the wrong buttons all the time, which is a little frustrating. But anyway.
You can't switch it back? You can't go and change the...
I haven't tried. I mean, I see why they did it, and it actually is very convenient. I just happen to press the wrong button.
So you're keeping it the same so you'll learn how to do it the way they intended?
Like detective mode is a different button.
Weird.
They also try to handicap detective mode a lot in this game, which I think is probably a strength of the game because I overuse it like crazy in the other versions of the game.
I did too.
Anyway.
You get me so excited about playing those games. When the first one came out, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, I have to play this game.
I know. I was like, I can't believe games look like this. Yeah, I was like, I can't believe games can do this. That was before I started getting back into gaming.
I remember that playing it was just you could download it on the Xbox. It was a little demo, and you would sneak around. It was in a factory room or something. You stuck around and you snuck up on guys and did the chokehold on them or like pulled them through the floor or like it was so fun. I was like, man, I cannot wait till this game comes out. And then Noah bought it for me for Christmas, and it stayed in its plastic for like a year. Because I was in school and I just didn't have time to play a video game. But oh man.
I think I kept telling you, Steven, you got to play this game.
I saw a video of that demo. That demo you're talking about. I saw a video of it, and I thought it was just like a proof of concept, like animated movie or something. I couldn't believe it was actual gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And then I got the game, and my computer played it at like 2 frames a second. That was really bad. Anyway.
That's funny. All right, Robert, number 3.
3 for me was Uncharted 2, which I borrowed from Steven for the PS3, and Lauren, you have these now in the upgraded edition, right?
Yeah, I haven't even opened them yet.
Steven,
but
did you
I'm
get it?
looking
Did you get it for
forward to
Christmas?
Yeah, I was gonna play it last night. I put it in. It's like you need to download a gig update, and so I played Bloodborne instead.
Cool. Well, Uncharted 2 was so fun. It starts out crazy and ends crazy, and in the middle they have like these really quiet moments. One of my favorite parts of the game of Uncharted 2 was, despite how much crazy action there is in it, there's this level where you're in like this remote mountain village. You've been rescued by this man after you've crashed in the snow, and he's brought you to his village, and there's no fighting. It's just like this beautiful, serene village, and you walk through, you're following this man, and like there's these little kids playing soccer, and you can go up and kick the ball and like tease them a little bit, and you make like funny side jokes, and it's just like it's one of the most interesting parts, because like right in the middle of the game, you've gone through some crazy stuff before, and you know there's some crazy stuff coming after, but there's like this, it's like the eye of the storm when like everything is peaceful and funny and awesome. And that moment of that game like encapsulated what I loved about the Uncharted series as a whole. The characters, the gameplay, the graphics, everything is just really good.
Cool. Did you play Uncharted 1 this year?
Yes, it was like number 15. It was down lower.
Is that
But it was
because of the
still very
graphics,
fun.
or does it feel outdated in other ways?
No, not because of the graphics. The reason, first of all, I loved Uncharted 1, Lauren. I played like more than 30 games this year.
Yeah.
And so all of even though it's down like below top 10, doesn't mean it wasn't an awesome game. And in any other year, it would have been in the top 10. But the reason Uncharted 2 is so much better than Uncharted 1 is because Uncharted 1 focused too much, in my opinion, on gunplay. Like they rely too much on shooting. So like you'll go through some areas and then you have to shoot for a while and just clear out the room of enemies.
Was it repetitive
Which is
as well?
fun. Which is fun, but I will say in Uncharted 1's defense, like the environments are awesome. Like you go through some amazing environments, so you're gonna love it. Don't let that dissuade you from Uncharted 1 because you gotta play it. It's really fun.
And are they
And
a
then-
continual story? Like, do you
Yeah.
have to play them in order?
Yeah, you should definitely play them in order.
You know, that studio is so good at doing what you're describing, where you, like when you're walking through that city, like in Last of Us, there's moments like that spring up that kind of string you along, where you're just going through some crazy stuff, like the Salt Lake scene, like the giraffe.
Don't give it
and
away.
stuff.
Don't give it away,
Oh.
Lauren.
I haven't played it.
Oh, you haven't played Last of Us?
No,
Hey,
he
I
doesn't
just
have
got a
PS.
PlayStation finally.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
I
know.
thought you played it ages ago. I thought you borrowed it from Robert or something.
No, I just got a PlayStation
He
4
played the
this
first
week,
level.
and
He
I've never
played
had a
the first level.
PlayStation before.
Oh well, then I'm so sorry, but there are
Oh,
moments
that's okay.
like that.
I'm excited.
They do that. They're just good at like breaking you up in a meaningful way. That's like, wow, it kind of, takes you off guard, but it's really cool.
It's funny, my mother-in-law called my wife, and she's like, what should I get Lauren for Christmas? And my wife said, he wants this game called The Last of Us. And so
I
then,
told her that.
then my mother-in-law
I'm
called
afraid.
back. My mother-in-law called back, and she said, I'm not buying that violent game. It's too violent. So instead, she got me a PlayStation Network subscription, which I'm very happy with. So
You should have told
That's
her, well,
hilarious.
it's not about the violence. It's
it's about the language and nudity. That's what I should have said. No.
There's no nudity.
I'm just kidding. They think I'm such a heathen, my in-laws.
Oh, that's funny. I take responsibility because Jennifer called me and asked me what game, or she asked me about the games that you would want on PlayStation, and she's like, "Isn't The Last of Us one?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a great one."
Honestly, it worked out better because
Yeah.
we spent so much money on Christmas, I wasn't going to be able to pay for the PlayStation Network for a while. So they did that for me, which is probably better in the short term.
yeah, you don't want to play Bloodborne without that.
Exactly.
Cool.
We'll talk more about that. Anyways, okay, Robert, number
No, I did my number 3. It's your turn, Steven. Number 3.
Shovel Knight: Plague of Shadows. Okay, so Shovel
I've
Knight
heard of
was.
this one.
Where did I put that one last year, Robert? It was like number 2 or something. Pretty
You didn't
sure.
have it last year.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. It's his number 3. Your number
Oh,
3.
number 3. I freaking love Shovel Knight. That game was so fun. It is like the perfect platformer in so many ways for me. And Plague of Shadows, totally you play a character that's completely different, totally different moveset, everything, and so all the levels are challenging in a completely new way. And I just love that game. Very rarely will you see me put a sequel up on this top 10 list besides the Dark Souls series, but
That's awesome.
man, that game is so fun. If you guys haven't played it, Robert, have you played number 1 yet?
I've beaten Shovel Knight, and I haven't ranked it yet because I started Plague of Shadows, and so I'm going to rank it as one game next
See,
year.
to me, it felt like two completely different games, so it deserves its own spot. And I just loved it so much, and it's the storytelling and the design of the game and everything is just so much fun. That is such a fun game. And I've heard that they're going to come out with more and more characters, and so I'm just going to keep playing that game every time they do a new one.
Sweet.
Cool.
I would have paid a full price for that game. When I heard that they were giving it out for free, the Plague of Shadows DLC, I couldn't believe it because as soon as I played number 1, and I was willing to give them big bucks for that.
Did you play all the challenge levels, Steven?
I did everything.
The challenge mini games. They're
Oh,
you're selecting
no, I
from the
don't think I
menu.
did.
Those are really
No.
fun. I think those might have come with the Plague of Shadows update because I
They
don't
did.
remember seeing them.
Yeah, they did. They did. I
Okay.
played some of them. But no, I didn't play them.
They're quite enjoyable. I think I'm gonna try and beat them all too. Anyway,
So,
All right, Lauren.
Robert, would you put Shovel Knight high up on your list?
it's so hard because then I'd have to consider knocking Bastion out of the top 10.
Yeah.
And that was what was hard for me. Those
Yeah.
bottom ones. My number 10 got knocked out.
That's pretty good, though.
But
Steven's 2 years in a row, number 3 was Shovel Knight, so that's pretty good.
yeah,
It's a
I
good game.
definitely love it. It's very fun.
And it's only Dark Souls 2 and Last of Us beat it on your list last year, which is pretty high praise.
It is
My
high
number
praise.
my number 3 is Smite, and this is the one that I spent 8 months playing. That's the one.
Oh,
that pretty much-
when you said 8 months, I thought you were talking about Dark Souls 2.
Oh no,
you're
that one
talking
too.
about Smite.
I went back and forth between those two a lot this year, but that's the thing. So Dark Souls 2, I got early in the year and played it, and then never went back to it because I just didn't enjoy it that much. And then I played Smite probably more like 6 months straight, just lots and lots of Smite. And I don't even think I'm that good at Smite, but it really is just a lot of fun, and it's pretty casual gaming in a way that you don't have to feel super invested. You can just jump in, play a game or two, and leave. And so it was good for me this year to do that. And I have to say, despite the fact that it's one of those sort of like clickbaity, only 18 or older style games that you see banners of on stupid websites, like it does have that like over-the-top busty characters and stuff like that. Like it's kind of stupid in that way, but I have to say that game is just a lot of fun, and they are very dedicated to it. They're always coming out with new characters. They're updating textures and maps, and they're nerfing characters where needed, and you can tell they're in it for the long haul. And just this year, it's exploded. I mean, it's getting really big. It's on Steam now, and you can get it on every console, and yeah, it's just a great game.
It was fun. I can't put in the hours required to compete at a meaningful level with any of those kinds of MOBA games. I just
See, and
have
this
a hard
is
time
the
doing that.
thing. Most people, they like to play it for the variety. They like to choose different characters and all that. But I definitely stick with one character and play that character for like 200 hours.
It's
That's
just
what
like you and your games. You choose one
It really
game and you
is.
just stick with that game forever.
Exactly. So I'm a level 10 Shibalanke, which is one of the most ugly characters in the game. But I'm at the highest level with that guy, and I've got a diamond skin for him, and every time I play with him, I win. And so for me, there's no reason to play any other character ever. So every time I jump in, I play that character, and people love me because everyone friends me after every game because they're like, "You're so good." I'm really not that good. I just play one character, and sometimes someone will jump on that character before me in the character selection, and I'll be like, "Sorry guys, I can't play." I'm really terrible with any other character. I'm like, "Well, just try someone else." I'm like, "I really can't. I'll look like a noob." So anyway.
That's awesome. My number 2 is Tomb Raider, the 2013 reboot. That is such a fun game. I keep saying that about everything, but here's what Tomb Raider does well. First of all, they made it about the gameplay and not about advertising Lara Croft. And so the characters are really good. The gameplay is really fun. Crafting in that game, you get a bow almost at the beginning, and shooting that bow is one of the funnest pieces of gameplay I've ever experienced. Because it feels so good to take aim and shoot that thing, and then you upgrade it, so then middle of the game and toward the end you're shooting fire arrows that explode, and it's awesome. But the collectibles in Tomb Raider, because you know I love collectibles, are really fun to find, and the game makes it really convenient to find them because you can upgrade your map and it shows you where things are. But it also rewards you when you get so many collectibles because it gives you experience which you can use to upgrade your weapons. And then there's these challenge tombs that you can find with puzzles in them that will also give you experience to upgrade new weapons and things. And all of that is really exciting for me, and I love that game.
I think you'll love Arkham Knight then because they tweaked the leveling up a little to be more based on items and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
That's a good segue into my number 2, Shadow of Mordor, because you shoot a bow in that too, and it's similarly you level it up, but that wasn't even close to the funnest part for me, but it was still really fun. But that game is almost the perfect game in my mind. The story itself is like, I could barely even remember it. But the gameplay was so fun. I just kept going back and back and back. It is so fun to kill orcs.
Yeah.
Never has any game been that satisfying killing bad guys. It is so fun. And the power-ups you get, just each one you add on just gets so cool. And speaking of the bow, eventually you get to a point where you take aim and you do, it's called Shadow Strike. And instead of launching an arrow, you hit X, and your guy warps to the orc and just like decapitates him. And then you can keep doing it. So if you reposition yourself and point at another orc, you just warp from orc to orc and just dropping bodies, and it's so fun.
You've got to play Arkham Knight because they also implemented that into that game. Sweet.
Okay, and I can see why, because it is so fun, and I felt like the way you leveled up your abilities was done really well, and it made it just each time I got a new ability, I was so excited about it to try it out and experiment with it, because it didn't feel like it was any of those abilities were irrelevant or that they were not fun to use.
Yeah.
And not only that, there were some other things about this game that were really cool. The world itself, to me, felt alive, especially with the whole Nemesis system. And I know like people talk about that a lot. There was only one orc that ever pissed me off that kept leveling up, and I wanted to kill him so bad. But I spent so much time going around killing orcs that I was really pretty tough when I was taking on like the orc leaders and stuff. I don't know what they're called now, Uruks or whatever. But there was more to it than that. There was sometimes you wander by little slave camps and stuff, and you can rescue slaves and do this and that. But as you did that, the dialogue was always changing through the game. Very seldomly did you hear the same piece of dialogue twice. And this is when things blew me away. There was one time I went on some mission or something, and I came to this cliff, and there was orcs taking slaves and throwing them off the cliff.
Jeez.
They were throwing the orcs off the cliff, and they're like, I can't remember what they were saying now. I was telling Reagan about this, and I wish I'd written it down, but they were like saying like, oh, we don't need these guys. We don't need any more slaves. We've got enough slaves. And they're just chucking off, and it's not even part of the game or anything. You're not rescuing those slaves. I was going somewhere else. It was just a random thing that was put in there. And yeah, sure enough, I go inside the cave and I come back out, and there's all these dead slaves laying at the bottom of this cliff. But anyways, things like that just made the world feel so tangible, and the gameplay was just so fun. Incredible.
Yeah, no, I agree. That game feels very alive. I think this is partially why I've had trouble with it. Is I feel like I'm having a hard time getting any grounding because it's so big and there's so much to do. And I think I'm a little ADHD where it's just like, oh, look, something to go do, and I go do it, and I lose track of what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
anyway,
For Lauren, Reagan warned me about that. He's like, because what I do is, this is the way I play games. Wherever I was at positioned on the map, I'd look at my map and say, okay, there's like 10 things around me I can choose to do. And I always do those. I'd clear out everything. If more stuff popped up, I'd clear that out, and then I'd go on and on and on. But Reagan was like, dude, you don't want to do that. He's like, move along with the story and come back and do that stuff later. But for me, it was much better to do that the other way. But maybe for you, it would be better to focus on like those gold icons that advance the story
yeah.
and kind of do some side quests. People just want to play it differently, but for me, I don't know. It was a blast, and I collected every single thing in that game, every collectible I got, every mission I completed. And also, pay attention to, there's some red missions that are completely optional. They're for power only, and they keep repeating themselves.
Hmm.
And I would only do those when you need more power, but like the white and are ones that are limited, there's like a certain number of like 100 of a certain type of quest with your bow or whatever. And then there's, was it blue ones? I can't remember what the blue ones were, but white and gold were the ones that advanced the story, and then there was little collectible icons too that are white.
Right. So I was gonna ask someone was saying the best way to play that game is to like infiltrate the orc camps by like getting sleeper agents and stuff. Is that something you focused on? Because it's something I've tried to do, but it's not. I have a hard time figuring out exactly how that works.
That ability doesn't come till way later in the game.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You get an ability way later in the game where you can take control of orcs, and in fact, you can take control of orc leaders and send them to fight other orcs to try to like move them up in the ranks, but they work for you. It's really cool, and you can go when you send them to like fight another orc or orc leader. I think they're called Uruks. You can go. It'll show you on your map, like it'll start blinking, saying, "Hey, this is going to take place," and you can go over and assist that person that is actually your
minion or whatever.
Your minion or whatever, and make sure that they succeed in moving up the ranks. It's really cool.
That's cool.
I forgot about. You're reminding me of some things, but there's just so many little things in that game that are so fun. But.
So that comes later. I kept feeling like I was playing wrong because I wasn't like turning any orcs to my side or anything. I was just beating them all up and killing them.
Yeah, no, that doesn't come till way later. So
okay,
it's much, much, much later, in fact. And that all goes right along with the whole leveling system, which I thought it was just so well crafted. Each new ability I felt was built perfectly on the previous one and was so much fun to implement into the way you played.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
No, that is fun. It's fun when like your sword suddenly like flashes on fire or whatever, and you're cutting off heads with a fire sword or. I enjoy that. Cool. You got me wanting to play it again.
It draws straight from the Batman games, as everybody knows, but I just felt like they did. The combat in that, to me, is way better than the previous Batmans. But
does the combat get faster? Because that's one thing I felt slow. Like Arkham City, I was getting to the point where I was just like flying from guy to guy. Does it speed up as you level up?
I don't know if I recall that or not, but I just remember it does pause before every one of your strikes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's built into it, but it feels like it's part of it. So it's like you move to one guy and you're moving fast, but then you slow down and you're like, you take off their head, or you like stab them through the heart or something, and then you speed back up. And it's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
One day I'll go back and play that game again because I just enjoyed that combat more than any game I've ever played, I think, as far as just, well, besides the Souls games. But
yeah. Do you have that game, Robert?
No, but I think I can play it through Steven's account, or yours.
Or mine, yeah. Cool.
Although Steven has the Ultimate Edition with all the DLC. I don't think you have that, Lauren.
Oh, special.
I'll say this. The DLC was, the first two DLC, I think there's three. The first two are awesome, and they were really fun, and you played them with all of your abilities. So in that sense, WB didn't really ruin it for me. But the last DLC, I didn't even play it. I played it for an hour, and I couldn't stand it because you play like the prequel of because you're two characters at once. You play the prequel, and you lose all of your abilities, and they also made it way more challenging, so you don't feel leveled appropriately, and I just hated it.
Huh.
I could have beat it, but it would have felt like grinding, and I wasn't interested in that story anyway, so I just said screw it.
Huh. You know, it's interesting how some games it's really all about story, and then there are other games where it's just straight gameplay. Like, I honestly couldn't care less about storyline in Shadow of Mordor, but I did enjoy the gameplay quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought the story was compelling enough, but just I love stories in games, but Mario doesn't have a story, and I love
Yeah.
those games. But that game I love it purely for its gameplay, for
Cool.
sure.
All
That's
right.
enough about that one.
So wait, was that number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2 for Lauren.
Okay, so this is sort of cheating again, but I had Dark Souls 2 on the list. That was my number 7. But my number 2 is Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. And we've talked about this in the past, but I feel like a lot of gamers sort of get frustrated that games, when they're released on day one, feel incomplete. It's almost like you're paying $60 to be a beta tester,
Yeah.
you know? And that's just really how I felt about Dark Souls 2. I feel like
Sure.
Scholar of the First Sin is what the game should have been on day one. It's polished. Even the story is a little bit more engaging because it has the Scholar of the First Sin who's sort of guiding you through different things and kind of making it a little more cohesive. The enemy placement just feels more right. It feels like a full version of what Dark Souls 2, in my opinion, was missing. So I enjoyed the gameplay so much in that one. I went back and immediately played it again like 2 or 3 times because it just felt right where Dark Souls 2 was lacking. So, but it's not my number
is
one.
number 1 on your list, Lauren? Is number 1 Scholar of the First Sin Fight Club?
Yes, it actually is. We'll just go straight to it since you guessed. No, that is
that
actually
really
what
what
it
it
is.
was?
It really is.
Oh my god, that's
So-
being funny, but
Yeah.
that is hilarious.
So this is why I divided Dark Souls 2 into number 2 and number 1, and this is why. It's because I played Scholar of the First Sin through by myself, and then I played it through again, but I tried to do a little bit more playing with people. Like I invited Robert a couple times, and I think I even played with you, Steven, a few
Yeah.
times. But then
Fight Club, those
I
ones.
looked up on PvP, and so I have 200 hours on Dark Souls Scholar of the First Sin this year, and it only took me about 50 hours to beat it the first time, and maybe 25 to beat it the second time. And so most of those hours are PvP hours, where I just get on and I fight. I go to fight. It's not just fight clubs, though. I do a lot of just one-on-one stuff, and there are different arenas, and oh man, that by far is the best thing about the Souls games, and I missed out on that in Dark Souls 1.
Mm-hmm.
I was even scared to do PvP on Dark Souls 1 because I felt like I was way out of my league. And I can't even explain how fun PvP is. And I've gotten to the point where I've done different types of builds and I've played in different arenas, and I've gotten to the point where I can't even collect any more human effigies because I've beat so many people. And it's so fun. So that is my number 1, even though you were joking.
That is
Steven-
funny. I really was just kind of razzing you for that because you just love those fight clubs, and then it turns out that was your number 1.
So here's the other thing, though. You know how we enjoy watching videos of games too? There's a part of that that's really enjoyable. Twitch is super popular. Well, I found that the Dark Souls 2 PvP community and some of the YouTube channels associated with it are incredible. Like, there are some really, really great full-time YouTubers who just do Dark Souls 2 stuff, and there's some really awesome lore videos. But the PvP, I never get sick of watching people on YouTube doing PvP matches. It's just, for some reason, it's just something I've really come to love. So I felt like I had to separate it. It's its own game, really.
That's funny. Hey, can you guys see my screen share right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm almost on hours in Dark Souls 2 than if you're at 200. I'm at 229.
nice.
That's just for Dark Souls 2. Look down 5 things, and you have Dark Souls 2 at 82 hours.
Oh my gosh! I've spent over 300
So-
hours in that game. Holy
So
crap!
Dark Souls 2, you've spent more than 300 hours.
And you haven't done hardly any
Two of them.
PvP, right, Steven?
Oh, so Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin I've put 82 into, and then Dark Souls the regular one I put 229 hours into. Yeah, I've played that game a few times.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's the thing, though. There's so much replayability. I mean, yeah, you get to the point where you know the bosses and the areas, but you can build your character completely different
Yeah.
every time. And then there's the NG Plus and all that, which is something I haven't even really delved into yet.
Well, that was awesome.
Anyway, so I guess I did my number one early, but we should go backwards now. Robert should end it.
What is? Well, no, go ahead, Robert.
Well, my number one is Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin.
Yeah.
And
stick with the theme.
unfortunately, you both know it even better than I do, so there's nothing I can really do to sing its praises other than to say I love that game. And I feel like I was often a wuss because I always ask you guys for help on it. But when I was on my own and I would like beat a boss on my own, I just felt so awesome. And I couldn't get enough of it. So that just makes me excited to play Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3.
That is one of the things about that game that sells it for me is you feel awesome when you beat a boss.
Yeah.
You could be so angry for hours, even days, because you're stuck on a certain. Well, especially in Bloodborne, man. We'll get into that in a second, but you spend so much time doing that, and then you finally beat it, and that moment is so short compared to the hours you've put in trying to beat a boss or an area. You feel so cool.
Yeah, it's true.
At least that's how it is for me. I just feel so awesome.
The other thing is that game really, it's by the time you do get to the point where you beat a boss, you go back to that boss again on another playthrough, and they're like a piece of cake. Like
Yeah.
all that blood, sweat, and tears trains
Pays off.
you. Yeah, you literally become a knight. It's insane.
It is so true, and that might be why that Scholar of the First Sin was not so high up, because I'd already put 230 hours into the game. So obviously,
Yeah.
I knew what I was in for, but after leaving Bloodborne, it was even more so. But that leads us into my number one, which was Bloodborne, which now you guys both have, and I'm so excited about it. But
no, I can't wait.
I'm going to say something that might shock you both, but Bloodborne might be my favorite Souls game. And it's really hard for me to say that because, man, Demon's Souls was such a unique and amazing experience for me that to pass that up is saying a lot.
Yeah.
And Dark Souls 1 is amazing. But Bloodborne, every time I've chosen a character in a Souls game, I've always done an agility-based character. That's just what I always gravitate towards. And the fact that in Bloodborne, they don't even equip you with a shield.
Right.
I mean, they expect you to be agile. Even if you choose a strength-built character in that, you're still moving so fast.
Yeah, I was shocked by that. You can't roll when you're locked
Yeah, you
on.
can.
Well, not when you're locked on. When you're locked on, instead of rolling, you just like zip.
Yeah, you just jump 50 feet to the right. in
Yeah,
one-
which is actually cooler. I feel like
I
they
thought you
put
could
in the
roll.
battle. You can roll, but not when you're locked on.
Not when you're locked on.
Really? When you press 0 and back, you don't roll when you're locked on?
No, you
Or-
jump back. But what's cool is you guys are gonna love this. When you start getting invested in a weapon, when you find a weapon you really like, go online to the Frextra Life Wiki, whatever they call that, and read about the move sets because every weapon has like 20 or 30 different moves.
That's something I'm
And-
really excited with Dark Souls 3 because it looks like they're adding a lot more weapon ability, which is cool.
And in fact, there's some weapons that have even more than that. There's the ones that I used for most of my playthroughs was it's called the Blades of Mercy, and those little daggers have so many different moves,
Cool.
and they're so fun. But one of my favorite moves with any weapon is when you're locked on, you jump back and then you do your quick attack, and you'll leap back forward and do an attack like a swipe. And you usually do added damage, and especially with the Blades of Mercy, you do some arcane damage. But anyways, you guys are in for so much fun. I platinumed that game this year, and it took me 140 hours to do it, but it was worth every minute. And I'm not. Some people will say online that the Chalice dungeons are not worth it, or like they don't feel like they're part of the game, or that they were screwed up somehow, or whatever. I don't know what you're going to read. And there is a certain element to them that makes them feel that like a little bit repetitive. But there's completely unique bosses, tons of completely unique bosses you'll fight in those dungeons. And I'm not joking. Sometimes I would spend days fighting a single boss over and over and over until I beat him.
Yeah, but can you do PvP or can you like invite, summon people and stuff like in Dark Souls?
Yeah, so you can have people join your chalice dungeons, join you in your chalice dungeon, and you can also do it in the game. But this is kind of cool because one of the elements of Souls games that people miss out on is that element of when you're playing alone and the sense of accomplishment.
Right.
It's really hard for you to invite somebody in the beginning of Bloodborne. In fact, it's impossible. You have to start getting this stuff called insight. And every time you ring a bell to summon somebody, you use one of your insight.
Oh, so you have to. It's sort of limited.
Yes, and in fact, you can't level up unless you have at least one insight. So don't spend your first insight summoning somebody. I don't know if you can. I think you don't get the summoning bell till later. I can't remember for sure anymore. It's been too long since I started a new character, but.
I was a little confused by the blood vials thing because I'm used to Estus flasks, right, where you're limited by your Estus, and then you can just replenish it at any bonfire. But I got the impression from Bloodborne that it's not the same way. Like, you don't just sit down and rest at a lamp, right?
No, in fact, you never played Demon Souls, did you, Lauren?
No.
Okay, so in Demon Souls, you start out in what's called the Nexus.
Right.
Actually, you don't start out there, but it becomes the hub. This place called the Nexus.
Which is what Bloodborne seems like.
Right.
Yeah, there's these cairn stones that you can go into that take you to different worlds or different parts of the world.
Right.
And that's exactly how Bloodborne works. There's these different gravestones that you use to warp to different parts of the world.
Okay, so I'm going to be going back to that hub world like all the time, that hub level.
Yeah, and instead of bonfires, they're lampposts. So you'll find a lamppost, you'll turn it on, and if you rest at that lamppost, you cannot just rest there and like level up your character or whatever. It just warps you back to the quote-unquote Nexus, like
right.
to the Hunter's Dream is what it's called. And it will reset your level progress. So you've got to be mindful about when you do that.
So you can light it without resetting it, but if you actually warp, it resets.
Just don't hit X twice. So you'll light it, he'll snap his fingers, and it lights up, and then if you sit down at it, though, it'll warp you back.
Right. But it usually says, do you want to warp back, right? It
Right.
asks you. You can just say no.
I can't remember.
But the
Yeah,
blood vials, so the blood vials, is that just something you need to use sparingly, like Estus? Or is
It's
it
just
something...
like Estus.
But it doesn't replenish.
Exactly. You have to find it and hoard it. When the game first came out, you could only hold 90/90, you could only store 90/90 in your little chest back at the Hunter's Dream. But now you can store 600, thank goodness. Because, man, there were times when you would fight a boss so many times and you run out of blood vials, you have to go farm for them, and it sucked.
Oh.
But,
yeah, because I actually felt like I was finding them a lot in the... I've only played for like a half hour. But I was wondering if that's if it's gonna feel more limited as I go along, because I feel like it starts out probably a little easy.
So I started the old Hunters DLC, but I was playing a New Game Plus,
Oh, Jesus.
and I beat it in New Game Plus. But I started out with 700 blood vials, and I was like on the second to last boss, and I noticed that I was down to less than 200. So you'll burn through those suckers. So hoard them when you can. Buy them if you go on to New Game Plus. Make sure you buy 600 blood vials in the regular game because they're cheapest then. In fact, they get more expensive as you go throughout the game.
I also saw that I'm not quite sure how it works, but I got the impression that when you get hit, you have a chance to like hit your enemy back to get some of your HP back or something.
Yeah,
I read that too.
So cool. I love that element. I totally missed it when I went and played Dark Souls 2: Scholar of the First Sin, because the fighting is so fun in that. There's nothing like it in any Souls game. You're constantly engaging your enemy, and especially if you're short on blood vials and you're trying to conserve them, it motivates you to really try to get some of your life back by fighting them.
Yeah.
You're basically stealing their blood. Like all of the weapons in that game are like bloodletting weapons. They're designed to like make your enemy bleed as much as possible. You're like basically harvesting their blood almost. It's really gross.
I noticed just in the first like 10 minutes, I'm just like my character's covered in blood. It's kind of crazy.
The graphics in the game are really cool too, but this is kind of gross. But like Reagan sent me a screenshot when he was playing it of his character, and he had been wearing this like mask or some kind of bandana hat thing, and he got drenched, from fighting all these monsters, these beasts, and he takes it off, and he took it off, and they took a picture of himself, and it was just like this line of blood.
Oh, that's cool that
from
they
here down.
pay
And
attention
his
to that
skin
detail.
above, yeah, it was.
Dude, the
untouched.
detail is really. Steven had me do this experiment, Lauren, where next time you play Bloodborne, like walk up to a tree or a building and move the camera in so it zooms in really close on your character,
Mm-hmm.
and just look at the fabric of your clothing, and you can see like little
Ruffles.
hairs coming out of the fabric. Like it's so detailed.
Oh, man, that's so cool. Yeah, I was actually
It is
kind of
really
blown
cool.
away because Dark Souls 2 actually feels really stark and lame compared to what I've seen of Bloodborne.
Oh, yeah.
And Dark Souls 2 is on PC. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I figured it would be even
Well, it
more
was
chill.
ported to PC.
But I have to say, that's why I'm so excited for Dark Souls 3, because everything I've seen of Dark Souls 3 looks like the high-end detail of Bloodborne, and even slightly faster-paced fighting and action, but with the knights and dragons and all that awesome stuff that I love.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 is going to be awesome because Miyazaki said he's borrowing lots of elements from Bloodborne, including the faster-paced fighting.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that.
And for me, that's so exciting because Dark Souls 2 was so boring. Not boring, I hate to say that, but it was just not the same experience.
A
because
different
I
type
just
of game.
No, I absolutely agree.
Just so much slower and not as challenging. And that's what's fun about his games is they've been challenging. Each one has been subsequently more and more challenging. But man, Bloodborne ramped it up. And I'm a little scared that Dark Souls 3 will be still stepping down from Bloodborne. Like it's not going to have that same challenging element because it's really hard.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just that I suck at Souls games, which I've already known that, but Bloodborne is amazing. I'm so excited for you guys to play. In fact, I told Robert I'm going to start a character right now, a new character,
Sweet.
just so I can play with you guys when you want help.
Awesome.
Um,
I'm excited.
Nice.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, I know I've been talking about Arkham Knight a lot, but it's on my mind because I've been playing it a lot in the last couple days. But you know how you were saying when you zoom in on a character in Bloodborne, you see all this detail? I cannot believe how good Arkham Knight looks. Like, it's raining pretty much the entire game, and you can see the water trickling down Batman's face and his suit and down off the Batmobile, and you can see how it like puddles and trickles down the face and then gathers with other droplets and trickles down. Like, it's insane how detailed that game is. It's beautiful. Just blown away.
Oh, I'm excited to play it too. Arkham Knight was actually my most anticipated game last year.
I know.
And the only reason I'm not playing it now, the only reason I'm not playing it is because I want to finish Blackgate first, which I actually really enjoy. I'm having a fun time with that.
I feel like Arkham Knight was super anticipated, and then when it came out on PC, the reviews
Oh,
were
yeah.
so bad.
Well, it was
Stomach
it was-
dropped.
yeah, it's in 10 times better condition on PC right now than it was when it launched. So
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's just really
Cool.
quality stuff. It
All
probably
right.
would have made it higher on my list if not for the fact that I haven't finished it and I put so much time to Smite and Dark Souls.
yeah. Well, now you have a few you can put on next year's list. Once
So
you beat 'em.
about how long does it take to beat Bloodborne, Stephen?
it's like
playthrough?
most Souls games. It's like 60 hours, I would say, 60 to 70 for the main game. You could do it faster, but I like to explore every little street and every little crack and knock on every door, and like I do everything I can, and so I take a long time. So my first playthrough I think took me about 70 hours.
Cool.
My subsequent ones obviously don't take nearly as much time, and I'm now been playing through again just since I finished the Old Hunters DLC, and I'm not stopping to pick up any items or anything because I don't need them. I'm fully
Yeah.
stocked, but I just am running through and killing enemies and trying to get to the bosses because that's what's the most fun.
So is the Old Hunters DLC the way other Dark Souls DLC is, where it's integrated, or can I play Bloodborne and then just play the DLC later?
No, it's integrated. You have to, in fact, you have to beat like 3 bosses to get to it, or it might be 4.
But I can
Yeah.
start a game and then install the DLC and it will still work in the game I'm playing, or do I have to start the game over?
So you own both?
I don't have the
Oh,
DLC yet.
I told Lauren that I was going to get him the DLC for Christmas. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a way to gift
No, you
games
could
for PlayStation?
just go on Amazon and gift him a $20 PlayStation Plus card, or PlayStation Network card.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's yeah. The dark, and also it's way challenging. Like just like the other Souls DLCs, they make them a lot harder just to like add that extra element of challenge. And they totally did that. It was so hard. I went into it was New Game Plus Plus, granted, but I went into it with a level 180 plus character, and I got owned. Every single boss in that game, including the Chalice dungeon bosses, I beat by myself. Because I wanted to be able to do it by myself, because I don't know. When you get help, it's not the same experience. But I finally gave up in the DLC. I got help with 3 of the 5 bosses in that. Because in the DLC, because they're just too hard, and I had sunk so much time into trying to beat the bosses by myself that I finally caved.
That might have been because of the New Game Plus Plus, though. You may have eventually beat them on your own, on just the first version.
Yeah. When I start a new character and I play with you guys, I will most definitely try to do it by myself when I'm in the regular game.
I'm really excited for Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Just what you said, the bosses are really exciting. I feel like that's the weakest part of Dark Souls 2. The bosses are all kind of the same. There's a lot of knights. There's a lot of I don't know. I didn't feel like there was as much variety as like Dark Souls, for example. And I feel like that's something Miyazaki really focuses on, is just like really creative bosses. Even some of the gameplay footage I've seen of Dark Souls 3, the boss looks just ridiculous. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, do you remember the Dark Souls 1 DLC? Well, of course you remember it, but you remember the final boss? He was like that. He looks a lot like the first boss in Bloodborne. You know, he had that big paw on one arm and he had a little short arm.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, Miyazaki's character designs are awesome. That was my complaint about Dark Souls 2 originally too, is that almost every boss was so humanistic. Like,
yeah,
it felt like you were just fighting a giant person in almost every single case, and all the enemies were like that too, almost all of them.
Right.
But with Dark Souls 1 and with Demon Souls, you just fought the weirdest things, and it was so cool, and Bloodborne does not let down.
That's awesome.
It is so cool. I cannot say enough about the game, and I don't want to. I don't think I could possibly spoil it for you guys or make you guys think it's better than it is. It's extremely challenging. It's really fun, awesome, way inventive. The tombstones get a little old, and that's about it. Because you like that detail and all, like it's throughout the whole game.
That's cool.
So hope you like
I
tombstones.
can't remember what I was going to ask. I was going to ask something. I'll just have to play. Oh, I was going to say, you know, the Dark Souls games are usually pretty light on spoon feeding. They don't tell you the story or the mythology or anything really. You just kind of have to figure it out as you play.
Yeah.
I feel like it's even less there with Bloodborne. Like, when I get an item, I don't feel like the item descriptions are readily available or anything like that. It's just all kind of, I can go in there and check it if I want, but
Yeah.
do you understand the Bloodborne story, or have you had to read it or look it up, or?
No, as soon as I beat it, I just looked up Vatvidia. You ever watch his videos?
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
He does an awesome job of, like, the synopsis of that. And the story is really cool. In my opinion, it's really awesome. Just like all the other ones, I love like learning about the lore, but I kind of got sick of the lore in Dark Souls 2, but the Bloodborne lore is really awesome to me.
Yeah, I agree. Dark Souls 1's lore is really good, but awesome. Well, made me want to go play.
So, Lauren, either find me through Robert. I don't know how you find me on PlayStation Plus. I think you can look at Robert's friend list maybe, but if not...
I just sent you a friend invite, Lauren.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't
mine's-
been on the PlayStation at all today. I've been playing Arkham Knight. I
Mine is
figure
into
Robert's
later.
on his new PlayStation, so I'm gonna jump on, play his Arkham Knight game on Steam while he's not on there.
Well, I'm going to end the broadcasts, and we can keep chatting, but
I was just checking
thank you,
something out.
0 viewers, for watching.
Hey, one day this will
Bye,
be
Mom.
famous.
There you go. Anyway.